There was a question asked in one of the spiritual groups that I'm in on Facebook, and it was, "What spiritual trend do you not vibe with?" Um, I don't vibe with the question. The question itself is hugely problematic. And it's problematic because a question like that firstly takes spirituality and reduces it to trends, new age, whatever hashtag is currently on the go. And that in itself takes tens and thousands of years of ritual and ceremony and practice and traditions, and squashes it down into nothing really, because trends really are just nothing. So the question is incredibly problematic, and what it does is it now opens up a dialogue on a social platform that's now discussing spirituality from a very incorrect, very disrespectful lens. And you go into the comments and people are listing ancient practices and traditions and ceremonies and beliefs and ways of being under the guise of trend. I don't vibe with this trend. I don't vibe with the rule of three trend. I don't vibe with the prayer trend. The rule of three has been around for a very long time. The rule of three has been around way before trends were even a trend. Prayer has been around since probably the dawn of humanity. So these things are not trends. Spirituality is not a trend. Spiritual practices are not a trend. It's not about, what's the latest fancy yoga pose, what's, the latest fancy set of beads that I gotta wear, what's the new modality. Stop reducing spirituality to trends. It is far more powerful than that, and it is far more deserving of respect than just what is your latest spiritual trend. So if we want to start a trend in spirituality, let's bring that back, the trend of honoring and respecting spirituality and spiritual practices. And let's ask better questions within spiritual community spaces. Let's not ask, what spiritual trend are you not vibing with? Ask, how can we restore respect and honor to spiritual practices? Firstly, by not asking questions like that. And what can we do to stop reducing spirituality to just trends? And what are you currently vibing with? What's the modality flavor of the month? Like, no. What are we doing as spiritual practitioners, having conversations like that in the first place? That is not a question for a spiritual based group to be having. And it's definitely not a question that someone who works within spiritual spaces should be encouraging people to have a conversation about. Let's stop reducing spirituality to just mere trends. It is horrifically disrespectful. It's harming. It does an incredible amount of damage to practitioners and the clients that go and see those practitioners. And it creates a false narrative of what spirituality, modalities, practices, what they actually are. That they're things that we can pick and choose from one day to the next, like changing our hair color. They're not. They're things that you go and you study and you practice and you live and you breathe and you walk those practices. They're an integrated part of who we are as spiritual practitioners. And to have spirituality reduced to the word trend, horribly disrespectful to every culture across the planet. It is disrespectful because for a lot of us spiritual practitioners, we've taken on those practices from ancient cultures that are still around today. They're still here, they still exist, and they're watching us practice their practices and now chat about their practices as a trend. That is not okay. As a spiritual community, we must do better. We must lead by example within our spiritual communities, and we must ask far better questions.